Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we are going to dive into some contenders and rebuilder targets that we think you should be kicking the sleeper DMs around in for these players, because who knows, maybe you can make out a deal. Speaking of deals, if you have a trade that you want us to take a look at, check out our Dynasty Trades or just Fantasy Football Talk trade show every Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. We go for 2-ish hours, just Will, me, the chat, hanging out. And for this week only, you get advice from number one at Scott Fishbowl. So
hopefully not this week only.
But that's true. I got a 20-point lead, so we'll see how long it lasts. Let's jump on in.
All right, first up here, I'm going to talk about Brock Bowers as a rebuilding target. It's kind of a crazy point to start at. I mean, Brock Bowers, the tight end one on Dynasty Daddy. I think still a lot of people's tight end one in Dynasty, but with the emergence of Tyler Warren, Trey McBride just had a monster game, and obviously the PCL knee injury that Bowers has right now, sounds like he's going to be out for the long haul through the bye week is the expectation, and really hasn't been himself since week one. He had that 5 for 108 game that had the injury and has been playing through it, but finally getting some rest through. We could go on here and talk about rebuilding targets and go through neighbors, and all the players that are on IR are going to be out for the entire season. Obviously, those are great targets for rebuilding teams. Just to put in perspective what Bowers' rookie season was, and I think the difference making tight end production you could get as a rebuilding team, it's not like you're going to get Bowers for 80%, 70% on the dollar, but being able to trade for him at all is a blessing. And to put in perspective, this is not talking down on Tyler Warren at all, but right now Tyler Warren is on pace for 82 receptions, 113 targets, 1,048 yards, which would be an amazing rookie tight end season. But that would be 30 receptions, 40 targets, and 146 yards less than what Bowers did last year. So his first trade here, quick maths right there, I did before the show. This trade right here, 12 team start 11. This is a full point tight end premium. I don't know if you could get this deal done, but these are the type of deals where you are still having to pay up the dynasty bell cow asset of Quentin Johnston for Brock Bowers. I think a lot of people would still take the Bowers side. These kind of moves where your team is not ready to compete, you can kind of eat the injury through the bye week of Bowers, maybe struggling throughout the end of the season, being able to trade another solid dynasty asset to get Bowers in your team in these 0.75 full point tight end premiums. Even if I would have to add a second on top of Quentin Johnston, I would definitely do that for Bowers in this kind of format.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key thing you mentioned was the fact that while their value might not drop, still tight end one on Dynasty Daddy, KTC and all that, what you see is the discount is you can actually have a conversation with this player. You see it with a bunch of players around the league, right? Jamar Chase, right? You couldn't buy him 6 weeks ago. Now you can, because the situation is a little different. And the fact that Bowers is underperforming, people might be trying to cash out on that value. If you don't need those points this week, next week, in 3 weeks, he's a perfect guy to hold and kind of, trust in the talent that he has and has shown.
All right, next one, a bit of a contender buy. It's going to be Javonte Williams, RB21 right now on Dynasty Daddy. And you're not always going to be able to do these, just had a bad week, sending out contending buys for someone who just underperformed. But I want to put into perspective like the insane workload Javonte has. Obviously, Miles Sanders out for the season. We saw in this last game, 81% carry share, 23.5% target share, 8 targets in this last game. Now, he hasn't really done a lot with the targets he's gotten through the season, but I think the perspective of the workload expectation for the rest of the season, even if it's just a mercenary buy for the rest of the year, is great. And I think Javonte gives you some upside. I know Rico just did not get extended from the Cowboys, went to the Panthers and is having a monster game. Maybe they need to buckle up and buckle Javonte to a 2-year deal. And I think Javonte's the type of running back that would take a cheap money deal to stay with the Cowboys if it was like a 2-year, single digits, even if we were pushing 10, 12 million for him to stay for the next 2 seasons. I think he would happily do that just based off of what his career trajectory has been up until this point with the Broncos. This last game, season low fantasy production for Javonte, but I think, and Jeremy, let me know if you disagree as a Panthers fan, I think the Carolina run defense is pretty underrated. They just held Achane to 10 for 16 in this last game. I think teams are choosing to pass on the Panthers a little bit.
I don't want to jinx it because this is the first time my team's been 500 and probably in my 20s. It's better than last year, obviously. I'm excited that the team can actually put together a decent defense. See, the defense isn't amazing. There's different ways to attack it. It just might not be, let's run the ball a million times, because they can't stop it.
Definitely. And this first trade right here, Michael Pittman for Javonte in a 12 by 11 full PPR. I like Michael Pittman, and I think he was a pretty underrated buy heading into the season. I think the Colts offense looks really good. I mean, we're seeing the emergence of Tyler Warren. This is a team that wants to lean on Jonathan Taylor. Josh Downs, target per route run numbers going crazy on his 50% snap share. But I think this is a team that will spread the ball around and wants to run through Jonathan Taylor and Tyler Warren. So to me, I think Michael Pittman is going to kind of fall into that level of receiver that I am very willing to send away to get what I expect to be a bell cow running back, which are hard to find, man. We've got running backs getting injured left and right. So I think finding a bell cow running back and being able to slot in a Trey Tucker, a Rashid Shaheed in place of where Michael Pittman would have been, I'd happily do that to be able to plug in Javonte into my RB2 spot.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you touched on it as well. I mean, we could totally see, especially after the Dowdle beat down, we could see them being like, okay, maybe we take notes and extend some of these cheaper guys, because Javonte, I believe, is still 25. So he certainly has some tread left. Maybe they re-sign him to a 2-3 year deal or something. I think he's looked pretty solid so far. Next up, we're getting crustier and crustier as we go. Started with Brock Bowers, and now we're at our wide receiver by Quentin Johnston. Currently wide receiver 37 on Dynasty Daddy. So far, he's been pretty dominant throughout the beginning of the year. The Chargers offense is one that loves to pass. Who would have thought? Greg Roman loves to pass now. We got to change all those jokes. Chargers are second in dropbacks and in passing attempts across the league. I want pieces of this offense where I can get it. And if I can get a QJ for a decent price, not paying the Labaconky expensive price or paying the Keenan Allen, this guy's might turn to dust next week price, buying into a Quentin Johnston who's still young, first round draft capital, and has now really lived up to that expectation. I mean, he already has 4 receiving touchdowns and a 23% target share. It's tied with Keenan Allen for the highest target share in the team. Sorry, lad, you're up to 20 now, so you can be a little happier. But still, I'm a big fan of QJ. And I will say, if you're desperate, Keenan Allen is a decent contender buy as well. I want pieces of this offense. I don't want to have to overpay for it. Where can I buy some good wide receiver production, even if it has stink on? Because, I mean, people will say, if they watched our trade shows, which you should do, 9 p.m. Eastern, drop the plug here, editing notes. I told you, don't trust a wide receiver in a TCU helmet. I may have to take that back. QJ has proved me wrong, but that stink still hangs around. People don't want to buy that pay the true price of a receiver that's producing like he has been. So let's take a look at this trade. We got QJ in a third for Kenneth Walker in a 2 quarterback, 12 teams, start 11, full PPR, 0.5 tight end premium. I think this is a perfect type of deal. Kenneth Walker still has the prestige of kind of a top, I have a good, or low end RB1, high end RB2 type guy that I feel confident in. QJ, a lot of people still don't feel confident in starting him. Can I get the younger player, the player in one of the best passing offenses in the league, and they are missing their tackles as well, so that passing offense is going to improve as they come back. I mean, not Slater this year, unfortunately, but I'm getting younger. I'm getting a player that's probably going to produce better than Kenneth Walker. I don't have to deal with the committee stuff, and I can still score points in a position I need and compete. I think this is a big win.
Yeah, and I like Kenneth Walker, but man, Kenneth Walker believers, there's just nothing we've seen through the first 6 games of the season that makes me feel like anything is going to change in terms of the split with Charbonnet, how involved he is on passing downs, the goal line stuff. So I think Kenneth Walker just has to dodge like too many bullets for him to kind of rebound and be worth the QJ and a third bet, which is pretty sneaky in this 12 by 11, like a deep enough league where that third is going to matter, either the draft pick itself or what it can do for you in season to help with depth in what has been a injury riddled 2025 NFL season.
Now, let's say the year has not gone your way. It's time to rebuild. Here is a good rebuilding target that's not just saying, hey, buy the expensive injured guy because the team expected him to produce elite. I'm talking about RB41 on Dynasty Daddy, Bhayshul Tuten, everyone's favorite at the combine. I mean, he dominated, high 4th round pick. We saw early in the season, Tank Bigsby got traded to the Eagles. Tuten stepped into that RB role behind ETN. And honestly, people started getting hyped. We saw week 2, he had a couple explosive plays, scored that 1 touchdown. Starting around week 3, he did suffer some sort of a shoulder injury, and that's been questionable every single week. That being said, he does play, but we haven't seen him take more of that role. And then we can also add in the fact that ETN has surpassed all expectations. I mean, he's looked phenomenal as well. He is on his last year of his deal. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if they bring him back, just given how good he's been playing this year and that team's success. ETN's a big part of that. With all that being said, the key part here is all about narrative. As a rebuilder, I don't care about points now. I want to buy players or picks. If you look at Scatterboo a couple weeks ago, people didn't really care that much about him. Now everyone's treating him like he's this next true bell cow, which he's looking like he is. I mean, he scored 3 touchdowns last week. And we might see that as well with Luther Burden after the DJ Moore injury on Monday night. So what I want as a rebuilder is, can I get these cheap pieces that all of a sudden, what happens if Etienne isn't re-signed? What happened if Etienne is injured? We'll get to see if Tuten is worth it. And even if he's not, you will have a point in time where you can sell him for more than you bought him, which as a rebuilder, that's what you want to do. Let's take a look at this trade in a 12-team, start 10, full PPR, 2 quarterback. We got Bhayshul Tuten for Kendrick Bourne and Rico Dowdle. And I know you're like, well, Dowdle scored 66 points for my Scott Fishbowl team. But if I'm thinking about Dynasty, if I'm thinking long-term, Rico Dowdle doesn't have the upside of a Tuten unless I need to start him right now. Both Dowdle and Bourne are players that if I have to start a player next week, I feel better about them than Tuten. But in 8 weeks, I'd probably rather have Tuten. In next year, I'd probably rather have Tuten. I don't think Dowdle or Bourne are under contract going into next year. So if I can take these kind of flash-in-the-pan guys that are producing better now and turn them into a player that actually fits my window as a rebuilder, with the upside of if Tuten starts smashing, he could be worth a second, 2 seconds, a first. People like Tuten as a player. We just need to see him perform on the field. I could totally see something like a JCM type rise or Cam Scatterboo type rise from him, whether it's week 12 this year or next year or not at all. But there's at least the chance that happens, whereas Dowdle and Bourne, that ship has sailed.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people look at this trade and think, Jeremy, you idiot. Tuten hasn't done anything all season. Kendrick Bourne just smashed. Rico Dowdle going bonkers. Adrian Peterson incarnate. But while I do think it is going to be a split, I don't know if you have strong opinions on, the Chuba return, what that'll look like. I do kind of believe it is going to be very much a split 50-50 hot hand type beat where there will be some games because Chuba hasn't done this, but Chuba hasn't been necessarily bad, just got the contract extension as well with the Panthers. So I think that will be a natural split. And then Kendrick Bourne, a little bit of the shower narrative stuff with Mac Jones and obviously all the injuries, Ricky Pearsall's been out. Obviously, Ayuk's been out. Kittle's been out. The offense has been Christian McCaffrey, Kendrick Bourne, Jake Tungus, Juwan Jennings with 5 broken ribs, running routes out there. Even if the nuts outcome hits for Rico and Kendrick Bourne for the rest of the season, that does not matter for your team that is 1-5 right now and is just destroying your max points. So a lot of times these kind of moves you have to do, and you have to find a way to move the points off your roster. And I think putting it into a bet like you talked about with Tuten that people want to believe in. Tuten gets 1 12 carry, 4 reception game, regardless of, what it looks like next to ETN. People are going to get hyped. You're going to be able to move for a second round pick easily. So I like the Tuten buy.
Well, that wraps up our contender buys and rebuilder buys. If you have any questions or thoughts, if you want to talk about other players, definitely check out our Dynasty trade show. We can break down our thoughts, our theories, our trades, all that stuff about any player that you bring up in the chat. Definitely check those out. And again, I appreciate everyone for watching the video. Leave a comment below. What are you eating for dinner tonight? Do the YouTube things, right? That's what I'm supposed to say, right, Will?
Yep, tacos.
Tacos. I don't know. What?
That's what I'm having for dinner tonight. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Sweet. Peace out.